Hey, all, welcome in another edition of Shoulder to Shoulder Colorado Live. As always, I'm your host, Manny. As always, please make sure to follow me on X at Manny underscore 303, Instagram 303 underscore Manny. As always, Buffline is open as well, 970-614-5771. Make sure you also follow us on wherever it is that you get your podcast at, the platform you decide, Spotify, Apple, iHeart Radio, Amazon. Make sure to take a look for us there, and also to follow at the VOCFB, so the Voice of College Football, on X as well. Today we have a pretty good show lined up, one of mine, one that I have been ready for, excited for the past, probably since we started this, to go over my record win-loss prediction and kind of how the rest of the Big 12 shapes out, and who we'll see at the end of the year competing with Colorado for the Big 12 title. So, yeah, we'll jump into that right away. First, though, as always, we'll jump into Ralphie Report. So just, news and notes. So one that we did have, right, we had our buff box. I said I would have a picture, so I'm going to put that up here real quick. So here's the buff box. So ours got, I guess, taped together, but it is awesome. It was really good. I think the box, it makes it way cool. As you can see too in the background there, the two Jordan Seaton cups. But it was cool. Part of me wanted to save it, but I figured throughout the season, though, we will, my family and I, we will be going and getting some more buff boxes anyway. I know it's on my next agenda. The next one is a Julian Lewis Cup, so we'll see. But we both got Jordan Seaton again. Can't hate on that whatsoever. So just really cool to be able to see this right out in the wild a little bit with Colorado. Oh, there. All right. So a couple other things today. I don't know if any of you have seen it on any social media platform, but we have the Charge fan section. So those of you who had been going to games, 7-8 years ago, I don't know when they actually did away with it, but those of us that have been going, there was the C unit is what they would call it. I remember the first game we went to with my wife, and I was like, what is the C unit? Like, what is this all about? So, yeah, so this is going to be replacing that. So it's a Charge fan section. It's a student section. So again, those of you that are students on here, that are, that watch or listen, that has been created now. So it's a good way to show your pride. Be as loud as you can at these Colorado Buffalo games. Get your keys out. Be loud. Make it really difficult for the visiting team. Another thing, we talked about all of the different ways that Colorado is being trying to stay ahead of the NIL. The Buffs, they have what's called Buffs Premier. So they created something, a new way to support the Colorado Buffs by directly impacting student athletes, ranges across different programs. If you are donating, to me, it kind of looks like the Buff Club, sounds like a little bit, but it will give you a VIP football facility tour, members only tailgate, raffles, 2 merch boxes. There's all kinds of other cool things. So check that out. And again, it does support the student athletes. It does help with with NIL for Colorado to land. For Colorado to land these recruits and, to get the football program where it needs to be and consistently where it needs to be. Another one was so Black and Gold. So these are upgrades you can add, I believe, as a season ticket holder. But as of right now, they are up for Georgia Tech and Delaware. Fan experiences, what it includes, I should say, fan experiences, tour of the stadium, photo ops, walking with the team to the bus to the Champion Center. So from the bus to the Champion Center. So basically, walk from where they get out of the bus at the stadium, walking into, essentially the locker room. So watch pregame and halftime events from the down on the field, so you'd be actually on the field. There's plenty more as well to get you game day ready. So again, check it out. Just cool things that are going on right now. with the Colorado football program. Yeah, just really cool. We had been seeing this kind of stuff at other schools for years now, and it's cool. Colorado is definitely modernizing and yeah, doing a great job of this. So just to make the fan experience much better. Yeah, and we'll get the schedule we'll get into. It's up north side. Yeah, Taco Bell. Yeah, wherever it is you're currently living. Yeah, I know we take it for granted every day. Domestically said he misses Taco Bell. Currently living and working outside the U.S. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's very convenient. I think for all of us here. So yeah, so let's jump into this though. So recruiting. So some more news came out. So let me get that one pulled up, a graphic for us. So recruiting targets. So I hope I get his Lecky Tompkins. So he's a running back, 6'2", 225 pounds. So this dude is a tank for a running back. So he committed. So he is at an IMG. So let's just make sure we understand that, right? So it says Jackson, Tennessee. We know IMG's in Florida, but again, it's that pipeline. IMG is a football powerhouse in Florida. They our program that gets players and has them go and live on campus. So essentially they're there to play the sport, and essentially they're known for their football program. And again, that is that pipeline. We continue and continue and continue. We will continue to hear about it just because of that relationship that Prime has developed there, the Colorado recruiting staff. This is just kind of where Colorado's going after. And again, you can't blame them. I think I saw, what was it, earlier this week, maybe over the week, in the top 25 high school programs, like ranking going into this year. I want to say IMG was 2 or 3. Number 1 was Mater Day, right there in Southern California. So, but IMG every year is going to be, in your top 5, top 10, somewhere closer to 1 than most other programs. But again, just something to keep our eye on. That pipeline is real right now with IMG. So again, just continue keeping your eyes on that. But he is committed to Louisville as a running back. So keep that in mind. Last month, Miami, so the U offered him and want to put him as a defensive athlete. So we'll be at Miami season opener versus Notre Dame on the 31st. So after week 0 this weekend. And I would think at 6'2", 225, I haven't watched a ton of film on him. So, I shouldn't even say I haven't watched any film on him. There's been way too many other prospects been looking at. I'm curious, but at that 6'2", 225, I would assume linebacker would be where he plays on defense. So we'll see. What he did tell Rivals, though, was I love Colorado. I'm excited that they offered. I plan on going up to a game eventually. I'm talking to my mom and my coach about it. I talked to Coach Johnny Mack. Tompkins said it was really good. He just kept it short and simple. He called and we talked about the Tennessee people that they have on the team. And one of the coaches that they have there is from Tennessee. And so then they offered me. So I think it's a blessing having an offer from Colorado and being able to play for Prime time. So, right. So for Coach Prime. So that is one to keep our eyes on. And again, this buff class is shaping up. And again, they're going to land their 4 and 5-star recruits here, wherever it may be. Yes, I did hear that, Northside. So I can't think of his name. I did see that. The CU is trying to flip a Michigan D tackle. Yes, I did see that, though. I was reading about it earlier now that you brought it up. Dang it. But yes, so there was that with Lecky Tompkins. Now, let's look at the next guy, Tadarius Hughes. This is a 4-star safety, 6'3", 180 pounds, out of Northwestern High School in Florida. Again, one that that is not uncommon that we keep talking about. He is committed to Florida State last year on the 4th of July. So he has been committed to Florida State for over a year. So the Buffs are working to get him in. And again, that would be a huge get. You get those 4-star safeties, again, out of the state of Florida, where they play high school football at a very, very high level. He's also looking to visit Nebraska and Miami, which is, again, you look at this, again, we we couldn't think of another, 4 to 5 years ago, right, where we are talking about 4 stars coming in. Um, I'm thrilled with the progress that CU's making right now. And again, this class they're bringing in, those 3 stars, they just keep stacking them and stacking them. And again, that's where you build your team. So just something for all of us to monitor. But to Darius Hughes, he is one really good player, ball hawk. Again, 6'3". He's built like a like a safety. Really curious to see what he does, what he ends up playing, but he can be one of those safeties that, puts on some weight. You might see him in the box, whatever it is, but I'm pretty excited for that. So I'm hopeful they land him. And when we do talk more about, if an official visit is set, that's something that we'll talk about definitely. So let's see. I did not see the Rick George interview this morning. Yep, did not see it this morning. Something I will have to take a look at. I think Prime going to take players more. Let me see. More recruits this cycle, about 22 players. Yeah, because I am curious though, and I think that's kind of the plan. I think that is the plan with. I think that's the plan. What they're trying to do, because I don't think we really understand how this NIL, the house settlement, and all these different things are actually going to play out. So I'm kind of wondering if they're just like, hey, we got to sign, get to that 20 number, because then we only need to do, X amount in the transfer portal. So, and again, that's where CU, they do their work during the season, and then they do their work during the transfer portal. And again, I don't think there's a wrong or right way to go about it. I do know this though. The top 5 defenses were 80, I think it's around. So the top 5 defenses were built 85% of the roster that was starters was built on the defense. So you typically want to build your offense through the transfer portal, and your defense needs to be recruited players that you developed. That is typically what it is starting to look like. That is what all the numbers, the trends, all those different things are starting to show. So I would try to, we'll focus more on that as we get closer. But and again, as you can see, a lot of these guys out of high school, right? And again, one of the hardest places to recruit in the portal, because good offensive linemen do not enter the portal, as we have seen. What I'm hoping they do is, right, so that they build those offensive line, because that's tough to get in the portal. And once you start home growing your defense, that's when that's when you really start cooking with grease at that point. So just something for us to keep an eye on. Again, I'll bring those numbers to us, all those different kind of things to the show here. But again, I think it's super. I think it's awesome right now. What's being built in Boulder right now. So yep, absolutely. So I did see that Nebraska. I have a hard time with that, right? Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and we were, Nebraska's not what it used to be, right? Like, regardless of how we feel about them, right? But just some of those schools, right? Like, no, you got to go live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And again, I've been there, I think, once or twice in my life. And I even was like, this is where the University of Nebraska is. So just kind of curious as to what and again, don't know much about their program as far as like what it looks like on a recruiting visit, anything like that, right? That is, and again, they could have world-class facilities, all these things. But you wouldn't catch me there, like in Nebraska. You wouldn't catch me, in some of these other places that, you wouldn't catch me in a lot of them. So, and again, love Colorado, or you probably catch me somewhere near a coast or Colorado, somewhere like that. So, so let's take a look at. Let me see a couple questions. Yeah, I was reading about Holloway the other day. I don't know. It's this CU recruiting. They move. They move in silence though. Like that the staff does. It's something big happens, since like, well, that one came out of nowhere, right? There's always that one surprise out of nowhere, right? Like Jordan Seaton's first year, right? Prime's first year, when Seaton, we weren't even in the top 3. And then he went on live TV and committed to Colorado. Yeah, I don't know how to gauge those things because Red, I had a good feeling about CJ Sadler. And again, he did what he needed to do. But I don't know. I don't really my meter is really jacked up with how Colorado's operating because again, they move in silence. So I wish I had more to bring. Um, yeah, they move very late on kids. I don't like that either. Typically the way that works with recruiting is you have to be early. You have to be one of the first ones at the table. Again, I don't know why that is. There should be offers out to 2028 players at this point. I do not know what it is. I'm sure they have their reasons for it, but typically, from everything that I've learned about recruiting is you have to be one of the first ones at the table there. So we'll see how this goes, and maybe this is going to be more of an emphasis as well moving forward with this new, the way that the NIL, and just see if if really the transfer portal pops like it's been the last few years. So, and again, I don't expect it to be that crazy, but again, I do expect for some players to be in the portal, see you to go do their work, and again, that's where they do their thing. So, yeah, I still have to get the hate out of this is funny. I still have to get the hate out of my heart for Oregon and Nebraska, not gonna lie. Yeah, that Nebraska, the Dan Lanning thing, and then you had Dylan Gabriel saying some crazy stuff after the game this past weekend. I can't even remember. It was something about for entertainment or serious or something like that. But it was yeah, not okay. And again, it sounded like Dan Lanning was talking at that point through Dylan Gabriel from what happened with Colorado and Oregon a few years ago. So yeah, not a big fan of Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks either. All right, so let's jump into this. I saw someone posted that. Who had it? Where is it? Taco Bell. That's not it. Oh, everyone thinks we are going 6-0 the first 6 games, but have us 9-3 for this season. So let me just put this up there. So once before we start, yeah, I don't have us at 6-0 first 6 games, but have us 9-3 for the season. If we go 6, yeah, we ain't losing 3 games. Yeah, if the Buffs start 6-0, you're looking at 2 losses probably the rest of the way because their schedule is more difficult this year than it was last year, right? They get the big dogs this year, right? They're playing a lot of good teams this year. So the ones, right, they didn't have to play. They played Kansas State, but right, they missed Iowa State, didn't have to play Arizona State, didn't have to play BYU until the bowl game. So right, that's where you miss it. And again, this is very difficult to predict right now. Any conference, the SEC, the Big Ten, because we don't know, right? Because Indiana last year was in the Big Ten title game, made the playoffs because they only have to play like Ohio State, I think it was. Got killed by Ohio State. So it's just, yeah. So I'm not sure how this works. There has to be a better way. There has to be a way better way for this to figure a conference champion. And almost we're at a point now where you're almost there where the conference championship game does not mean a lot. For some of the teams it means something, right? But like some of these schools, they go to them and it's you only have some, like you're playing for, you don't have anything to gain but you have everything to lose. What was it, SMU last year? I thought they were going to get knocked out of the playoff because of what took place. So yeah, so we'll see. Something needs to change. Maybe you switch the conferences, however many recommended games, start moving it around. But yeah, let's see where we're at. So let's start, right? Georgia Tech, August 29th, next Friday. So really excited for that. Like I am can't wait for next Friday. I was talking to my wife today and it's like, okay, so the game's at 6, so we should probably leave here about 1 or 2. And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, what are we gonna do for 4 hours in the parking lot? Like, so I mean, I know what we're gonna do, but it is just really excited to get there. So but yeah, so they have Haynes King, quarterback. If you watch the Georgia Tech game last year, he had a really good game. He was running the ball, throwing it. He is a good player. Tough, solid quarterback. He's really good. And then Eric Rivers, the receiver. I'm curious to see him and DJ. See what that looks like. How much. I'm curious how much man they're going to run, right? How much man is Rob Livingston going to throw at them? And then Jamal Haynes. If you have not seen him play, if you've not seen Jamal Haynes play, that's somebody you should somebody you should watch. Their running back, man, he is tough as nails. That dude can play. Now, with that being said, I have the Buffs in a close one here. So I'm thinking, a 3-point field goal at the end of the game, stopping Georgia Tech on their last drive. I do think they get that done. Week 1, I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. Again, it's essentially a preseason game, right? Like, that does count. And again, Colorado loses this game, it does not end anything. I don't think they are, but if they lose this, it doesn't, and again, like I said, it's a preseason game. It's those conference games that need to be worried about. Yes, I will. Northside, I am going to the game. We will be there. So we are season ticket holders. So I'll be at every home game. I would love to try to go to one away game every year. Even just looking at the schedule, I don't know where I'd want to go, right? Because at Houston, that looks very hot and humid. I'm not sure if I really want to deal with that. So I don't know. I think it's kind of been what I wanted to do though. So, so 1-0, let's just say 30-27, 27-24 win. Buffs sneak away with that. The end of the game. So the start 1-0, Delaware. This is their first step up to FBS football. I got to win there. It should not be a close game. We should be able to see some backups there and everybody just hanging out, from the third and fourth quarter, have a safe ride home, those kind of things. So they should be 2-0 now at Houston. Just a little deep dive on Houston. So Connor Wigman, I can never pronounce his name. Wayman, I think that's how it is. So he is from a transfer from Texas A&M. This dude was one of the 5-star quarterback coming out. Played last year Texas A&M, got benched for Reed, I think it was at A&M. So we'll see what he does, but I do believe they named him the starter. I don't know why else he would. I mean, I guess he would go to there because he's from Texas, but to go to Houston. But they do have Donovan Smith, senior dual threat quarterback. So again, he is threw for 867 passing yards. But if you watched Houston last year, I know we watched them against BYU. It was that was tough to stomach, to sit through. I guess that was tough. They have a returning running back, Stacy Sneed. Expect him to a little bit be more involved. Again, they are still building at Houston. I think that coach there, I can't remember his name, but he is a fantastic coach, one that I think is going to end up turning that program around. But they're still a year or two early at this point, if that makes sense. So I do have the Buffs winning there 3-0 to start. Wyoming back in Boulder, 4-0. Tyresias Davis gets a reunion with the old team. But again, that should not be very close either. Houston does have a good line, good point. So there you are, 4-0. Now, this is one before the season. The next week, BYU. I had the Buffs losing this game, but now there is no Jake Retzlaff, right? So he is gone, doesn't play there anymore. I know Kalani Sitake, he's one of the best coaches in the country. But BYU, without that, they're starting a true freshman at quarterback. It's Bear Bachmeyer, I think is his name. He's a dual threat quarterback, three-star player when he was coming out. But again, I still think I don't know what they're going to look like, because they had somebody who knew every single offense the way that Sitake wanted Kalani Sitake wanted the offense run. So yeah, I do think where we're gonna I do think the Buffs win this one. Again, if Retzlaff was still there, if Jake Retzlaff was still there, I do not think the Buffs would pull that out. And again, he is not the greatest quarterback ever, right? We do know that, but they're just a well-coached team. I do think with this freshman, those turnovers are going to come early and often. And then, at some point, coaching is going to take over with him. And, Kalani Sitake, he'll do a great job with that young man. So 5-0. Now, this is at TCU. Let me see this. I think Georgia Tech, best team we faced this season on paper. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier, but we'll dive into that here, once I'm done with the reg. But at TCU, so here's where I think here's a slip up. Josh Hoover, their quarterback, really fantastic player, one that is not, people do talk about him, but he's not being talked about enough, if that makes sense. He threw for, what was it, over 3,900 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 151.1 rating. This guy is back. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, one of the best returning quarterbacks in the country. This dude is this dude's the real deal. So that is one that you need to watch. And then, Sonny Dykes, head coach, he is going to have them ready to go. Really excited to see what that is. And he has a new weapon with Eric McAllister. So Boise State transfer. This dude averaged 19 and a half, 20 yards per catch, 873 yards last year, 5 touchdowns. Last season in 2024 in a run-heavy offense, Boise State featuring Ashton Jeanty. This dude can play. So with him there, I think they're going to have a good. They should have a good connection there. So I do think this is a loss, right? We think of this TCU game, and that's I can't remember, was it somebody said about the Disney Magic? This is the first show, I think it was. This is where TCU a couple years ago in Fort Worth is where the Disney Magic started, right? With Travis and Shador. Dylan Edwards had a big game. He had a massive game, I should say. But yeah, that's where I think this is where the first loss comes in, and I think this one might get ugly. I hope I'm wrong, but again, I just going with my gut feeling right now, and that's what my gut says. So, so I think we're 5-1. So you get to TCU, then Iowa State. So this is at home. I don't, I get their quarterbacks back. Iowa State, right? Rocco Beck is back. I think this is just who's home and who's away. So the great part about this is outside of one of the games, I should say 2, Colorado gets all those tougher games at home, at Folsom. And again, those of us who have been there the last couple years, that place is rocking. So I do think they will. I do think they win this game. I do think it's close. Right, CU's coming off a loss. This game right here may be the game that we look at that makes or breaks the season. And what I mean that is, where's the trajectory going, right? That was the game last year against Kansas State. Before the game, all week long, right? So before I had the podcast, I could tell, I was doing basically this, talking to my wife about it. And she would listen, right? But I was just sitting there. It's like, man, this would be a season altering football. This can change the trajectory of the program quickly. And I said, it's not that it's going to go backward, but I said, if they win this game against Kansas State, this is going to change a lot for Colorado. And again, they didn't win it, which, who would have foreseen, right, that all starting receivers end up getting hurt as well as the 2 backups. That was hard to see. Right. Not only the best player on the offense, but the best player on the defense got hurt, and Travis Hunter. Marion Miller got hurt and he was going off, right? That was at 8 catches for 145 yards. All these dudes were out, right? So one of those guys stay healthy, Colorado wins that game. Or if they call that pass interference, it was there. But this is how I feel about this Iowa State game. This is one that is could be a trajectory altering one for the season for sure. But I do feel like CU wins this one. Rocco Beck, just a little bit about him, threw for 3,251 yards, 22 touchdowns, and had 9 interceptions in 24. He is a good player. He is a good quarterback. He did lose, what was it, his number 1 receiver. They lost one of their best, I think both cornerbacks to the league. So we'll see. I don't think Iowa State – I do think CU beats Iowa State. I do think Iowa State's going to still be a solid team and be one of the ones remaining at the end of the season. But I do think Colorado pulls this one off, and this is going to be a good game. This is one that we're all going to have to bring it to there at Folsom. So make sure that if there's any game right now that is like where I look outside of the season opener, right, with Georgia Tech, where I'm like, man, I can't wait for that game. It's that Iowa State game. So that's like that first Big 12 game where I'm extremely excited for. And again, I still can't find information on this, but that game in Ireland, I do not think it counts. You know, Iowa State and Kansas State, I don't think it counts as a conference game. Again, I don't know why. I do know that some of these schools that scheduled, like just using two for example, like if USC and Michigan were playing, had it scheduled for like this year, it would not count because this was scheduled before the Big Ten, before we knew USC was going to the Big Ten. So I do understand these, but these are two original Big 12 teams. So I am like 90% sure this does not count as a conference game. So again, this could have significant importance. Could be a major game that does not count at the end of the year when we start looking at tiebreakers. Because again, that's against Kansas State. Those are two teams that should be there at the end of the year. So I do have the Buffs winning. That takes them to 6-1. Now, here's one that I am struggling with. I think this one can go either way. It's at Utah. That is a tough place to play. I do not expect Utah to go through what they went through last year. Kyle Whittingham, this is his last year. Like him or hate him, the dude can coach. His teams play with a lot of effort. They play with character, heart. They're just tough nose, grinded out teams. Yeah, I'm going back right now. I want to change my pick for this one. Let's talk about this. Devin Dampier, right? Good quarterback. Coming over from New Mexico that we talked about. So threw for 2,700 yards, a little bit over that, 12 touchdowns, and rushed for 1,000, about a little bit over 1,100 yards and 19 touchdowns in 2024. Now, he does throw some interceptions. So there is that. And again, does this work in Kyle Whittingham's system? I don't know. Everybody's really, really high. USA Today came out with their power rankings. And this is how I think when we see these power rankings, I don't like power rankings anyways, but was it USA Today or the AP? I think it's USA Today, but we'll dive into that. But the power rankings essentially means this is how they're going to finish, right? So I've heard, even people going about who is with their top 25 a couple months ago going into the season, and they're like, oh, well, I have Penn State at one. It's like, well, so you think Penn State's going to win the title? Like, no. And it's like, so why are you putting that there? So again, well, a couple of them picked Utah though, so there is that. I do think Colorado loses this game going into Utah, and maybe that's the game we go to try to be extremely loud, return the favor there. So yeah, I'll have to talk to my wife about that. If she's watching, that would be a good game for us to go to. It's not far, so that would be awesome. But yeah, we'll see. And then they have two tackles though. So Spencer Fano is one of them. That dude is projected to be the number one tackle taken in the draft. So he is really, really good. He led all FBS tackles with the 93 grade this past season. Again, that's from PFF. More than likely the first tackle off the board in the 26th draft, and whoever gets them, they're getting a monster. So yeah. And I do like that Demistocles about Dampier. They are talking about Devin Dampier like they should be talking about Caden Salter. And again, it is the craziest thing to me. I do not understand that. Liberty, in my opinion, Liberty plays in a tougher, right? They play in a tougher, they were a better team these last couple of years than New Mexico. So I do not understand. I don't understand that. I do think Caden Salter is the better quarterback as well. I do, he should be, he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the Big 12. But yeah, I don't understand. I do not understand how they keep talking about Dampier. Yeah, and he cannot throw the ball. So that is something to look at. I'm struggling with that one. Again, even just watched a couple of things, at New Mexico, watching some games. He can run the ball. Like, let's, be complete. He's really, really good at that. But we'll see how that works in the Big 12. But Caden Salter at the end of the year, people are going to look back on their hot takes, whatever they want to call it. I guess maybe they're not trying to be, but and say, what were we thinking? That was a terrible, terrible. Yeah, I don't know. So we will see on that. So yeah, let's Arizona. That they're probably going to be they're probably going to finish last in the Big 12 this year. They know Fafita, since Jed Fish left, they look like it looks like a train wreck there. And again, I don't wish that, the train wrecks thing on, or for teams to be bad unless you play, Notre Dame, CSU, or Nebraska. Those are the three schools that, yeah, I don't like. So if those three teams are at it, that'd be cool if they could finish poorly every year. But Arizona, I kind of, for some reason, I don't like them, but it is kind of cool when they're good, or, so we'll see. But I do think they're going to finish last. I think CU, this is, the Buffs beat them pretty badly, over at halftime, kind of like it was this past season. Again, this one's in Boulder. So next one, it is not a good team, right? West Virginia, not a good team, right? Rich Rod, he'll get that turned around. He will do that. But this is year one rebuild. Let's see what we have. Let's get through this. We got to get our players in here. We got to start recruiting. And one of the players they did, a transfer from University of Texas, San Antonio, so UTSA, Jamori Robinson, arguably the best player on the team. Important edge rusher. So, and again, we know how important edge rushers are in football, right? It's quarterbacks now, your DNs, and then your left tackles. That is how the game has changed. And what happened, he may be academically ineligible. I was reading an article actually earlier today about him. I don't understand that. It's something that went over from UTSA. They're challenging it, but it's him and a couple other players on the team. So we'll see. Again, their best player may possibly be academically ineligible for him to play at West Virginia. Jaheim White, could be a possible top 10 running back in the country. But again, I don't see West Virginia doing a lot. Rich Rodriguez is a fantastic coach, one that I like to watch. But I guess even some, you can even say maybe the time has passed a little bit, right? Because at Arizona, it wasn't that. It was far from impressive, if we're being honest here. So their quarterback, Nico Marchiol, he's capable of making plays on the ground. But again, I think Colorado goes in there. I think they hang with CU for about a half, maybe possibly into mid third quarter. Then you see the Buffs just take over and start running away, flexing their muscle a little bit. That offensive line starting to get comfortable. Those fans starting to tone it down, right? Put them in their seats, have them shut up. The quicker you can, get those fans at West Virginia and Morgantown there, as much as you can get them to quiet down, or the earlier the better. So I do have the Buffs winning that one. I think around mid third quarter, you'll see the Buffs start flexing their muscle, and this is when they start to dominate that game and take over. I remember when College Game Day was there and them shouting F Shador. Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. So that puts the Buffs at 8-2. So 8-2. Now, this is it right here. So these last 2 weeks are big. ASU in Boulder and then at Kansas State. These are going to shape the picture of the Big 12. I can't stress this enough. When immediately as I saw this, when the schedule, we knew who they were playing. We just didn't know when. When it came out and we figured out when they were playing, we said, man, these last two games are going to be, these are going to be the whole. This is going to make the Big 12, and with tiebreakers and everything. So Arizona State, they'll get first. Again, this is in Boulder. I do expect Arizona State to take a step back. Again, there is no more Cam Scattaboo. That dude was the heart and soul of that team. He even looks good right now. I think it was in Giants camp I was watching him. I think he's hurt. I think he got hurt, but watching him at Giants camp was pretty impressive. I was like, I didn't think he was that fast. And, you see him play, and I guess, when those pads go on, and he has a whole different speed to him. So I do think that is going to hurt a lot. They still do have Sam Levitt. I know people are already ready to crown him. They say he's the best quarterback in the Big 12. He is good. So do not get me wrong on that. He is a good quarterback. He is a good player. But there is so much talent at the quarterback position in the Big 12. And again, we look at Sam Levitt. When that game turned against Texas is when Cam Scatteraboo got going. And again, that goes with everybody. Your running game gets going. But it was when Cam Scatteraboo actually started to flex his muscle. They are good. He's going to be missed this year. Now, Jordan Tyson, right? He will be there. We know him, former Buff. Always rooting for him for sure. Just maybe not once this season against Colorado, but he is a good player. Jordan Tyson, as we all know, wish him nothing but the best. They do have a good safety, Xavier Alford. They do, Arizona State does have a good team. I do expect them to go into the Buffs are gonna. I think they pull it out against Arizona State. That is going to be a tough game. But I do think the Buffs pull that out. Again, it's at Folsom. So sometimes, right, even when you do sports betting, when it's even, home team gets 3. So again, here we are with that. I think the Colorado wins this game, puts them at 9-2. And this puts them at Kansas State. And this is where things get interesting. End of the season, right? Chris Kleiman, he's a really good coach there at Kansas State. Avery Johnson, I know people don't like him. I do. I really like watching him. My wife and I last year were lucky enough to sit behind the Kansas State bench for maybe half the game. I think I was getting a little too, being a little too loud. Like we were literally one row up. We were right there. Could have touched them, and it was tons of fun though. But it was too close. But you saw Avery Johnson out there. Even watching him at field level throw that ball, that dude, he's a really good player. So I do like him. Dylan Edwards, our friend Dylan Edwards is there. That we seen, those of us who watched that. I can't remember what bowl game it was, their bowl game last year. Holy cow, he lit it up. I was sitting there man, God, I wish he was still a Buff. And again, we do this thing, right, where it's man, I wonder if Dylan Edwards was still there. And then Jace Brown, really good wide receiver that they have. I like him a lot too. Not as a player, just don't like him as a fan, like him as what he brings to the table. So yeah, this one I go back and forth with. I do agree Arizona State is like Arizona 2023. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. And then no Scatteraboo. That was it. Going to be explosive team, not going to keep up. Is that you mean Northside that CU is an explosive team that Kansas State can't keep up, or others in general? I'm just curious about that one. But with this Kansas State one in Manhattan, I do think the Buffs drop this one. And again, I hope I'm wrong about this one, because if somehow they do go in and I shouldn't even say somehow, if they can pull that out against Kansas State, that puts the Buffs at 10-2, and that is that's good enough. You're in. You are into the Big 12 title game. You win that Big 12 title game, you're in the playoffs at that point. And I can't even imagine a playoff game at Folsom, right? That would be the dream, right? But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But I have them finishing 9-3. Now, what I do like about this though is I don't know where those other teams are going to finish, but just off the top of what I think is how it's going to play out, you're going to have 5 teams sitting there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. CU will be explosive. Will be explosive for teams to keep up. Yeah, absolutely. I do think they will. And again, that is being slept on. That is being slept on right now. They're missing Travis. They're missing Shador Sanders. They're missing LeJontay, Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn. Yes, they are. But they have one of the deepest rooms, wide receiver rooms in the country. And again, what a lot of people need to understand is Draylon Miller is going to get a lot of burn running the football as well. Again, I do not know why they went away from that last year. Again, the coaches know more than I do, so we'll say that. But that dude he's built like a running back as well. So they do have explosive players. Dallin Hayden is very explosive. Michael Welch, watching those, the updates from camp, he lost some lbs. That dude is cutting. That dude's moving and grooving right now. So I do think the explosiveness is going to be there. And then Caden Salter with his legs. And then today, I just saw this actually before I hopped on. Caden Salter threw it like to the other practice field on a dot, right? He just nailed it. I was like, man, like, in what world? So again, just going back to this, in what world do we look at this and think that Devin Dampier is a better player than Caden Salter? So again, that is extremely frustrating to me, but I do think CU is going to have an explosive team. And, I guess I do think we're at some point in the season, we're going to start hearing, and again, I don't think he's going to win it, but we're going to start hearing some talk about should Salter be getting a little more love in this Heisman race. So he is going to have a big year. I'm really excited for him. And again, that offensive line is going to eat. But end of the year, before I get too sidetracked on it, end of the year, I have Kansas State, Texas Tech, and I think I kind of want to – I'm going to leave Arizona State for now, Colorado, and Utah. And there's 5 teams. And again, there's 16 teams in the conference. These things are a mess right now, these humongous conferences where you don't play everybody. Like Indiana last year avoided all the good teams, right? And again, they were a good football team. Do not get me wrong. But these are just so hard to predict now. You can't predict who's there, who's at the end based on the schedule, right? Like, even up there, Arizona State is like Arizona in 2023. Yeah, it very well could be, right? Like, or, Oklahoma State last year. We looked at Oklahoma State. They were supposed to finish first in the Big 12. They finished last. This is and I guess I don't think people really take into account the transfer portal and what that does to teams. And as we know, Colorado added a lot in the transfer portal. I'm very, very, very optimistic about this team. Confident, sure. Yeah, Texas Tech. I have seen that Texas Tech's going to flop this year. So this article, if you guys read it from the USA Today, if you had time to read it, USA Today was talking about the most overrated team, and they put Texas Tech in there, but then they put the most underrated team as Texas Tech. So I don't know if they know what they're doing with Texas Tech. I don't know how to feel about Texas Tech. Like right now, they have talent. They have a ton of talent. They have a good quarterback. I don't know, but Texas Tech, what is it? They haven't won more than 10 games, double-digit games since Michael Crabtree, and that was 07-08 season. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Right? It does feel like they're going to flop, but then again, it's. I do think they're just so talented. I'm just kind of curious now. I'm going to pull up their schedules because I am trying to figure theirs out. I do think I want to say they play, or do they have, if they avoid a lot, one of them does avoid a lot of them this year. So they get, so Texas Tech, they open, it looks like, with Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State. Then they go to Utah. So again, there's a big game right there early on for Texas Tech. At Houston, they should beat Houston, Kansas, and Texas Tech. People are picking Kansas as well on this USA Today, and we'll go over that here in a minute. But people are picking Kansas, so I am. Yeah, right. So I'm a Kansas alum. I don't see it. So we'll look at that later. But Texas Tech, they get Oklahoma State at Texas Tech next. Kansas to Texas Tech then goes to Arizona State. Oklahoma State then goes to Lubbock. Texas Tech then goes to Kansas State. Yeah, I don't see them. There's about 3 losses there, right, with just the schedule. When you look at it where they have to go, BYU at Texas Tech, UCF, and then they go to West Virginia. But going to Utah is no joke. That is a tough place to play. Going to Arizona State and at Kansas State, those 3 might all be losses, right? And that's tough. They have a tough schedule this year. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, their coach Joe. Yeah, he. I don't even know like what to think about him. I thought it was really cool the connection him and Prime had, but him as a good coach, I don't know. I don't know enough, right? Like I guess this is kind of a prove it year for him, right? And Texas Tech. Like you go out, you spend all this money, right? You have one of the best teams money can buy. I'm I'm on the fence about them. I do think they're going to be good, but I didn't even yeah, I didn't even look. Yeah, those tortillas in Lubbock are no joke. Yeah, that was ridiculous. TCU is interesting. So minus one or two positions on paper, we are more talented on paper. Yep, yeah, and we are going to outmuscle them boys. Yeah, that offensive line, man, the Buffs offensive line. This Big Ten SEC. They have a big offensive line, and they're going to eat this year. And again, right, the defensive line. You know, I did see Gilly's thing where he was talking to Jaheim Otis this week about trying to get him to refocus, like you don't want it, and again, that's not a good look for sure. For sure, that's not a good look. I know Jaheim Otis has some kids, and again, as a father, I'll tell you, that's no joke. Having kids, right? Those of us that do have kids, waking up early, not only that, but they're your main focus in life after that. So it is exhausting. So for him to do those things again, not making excuses, right? He's there to play football, paid a good chunk of money to play football. And again, he can only better himself by working hard. And again, I'm hoping Jaheim Otis gets this figured out. Get himself in gear, get yourself going, man. Go spend more time with Swayze when you have time to spend away from the kiddos. Just whatever it is, running gassers, sprints, whatever it is. Because that dude has all the talent in the world. Jaheim Otis does, right? Former 5-star, depending on where you looked at it from. But yeah, just really, if he can get it together, CU has a shot of making some noise this year. And again, that's not on one specific player, because Arden's going to bring it, Tafik's going to bring it. Right? We know the guys at Gabriel Lightfoot. Those dudes are going to bring it. At Jaheim Otis, man, he's a catalyst, right? If he can play how he is capable of playing, man, that defensive line, the sky's the limit for him. And again, the Buffs they have a really good in the trenches. Again, I don't have to keep repeating. Maybe I am. I'm just going to keep repeating myself. So at some point, you guys are going to get tired of hearing me talk about the Buffs in the trenches. But all season long, that is where I'm going to watch. That is where I'm going to watch the game. So just staring at the O line and D line to see the push they're getting, holes that they're creating, right? Getting downhill in zone blocking scheme, right? Are they getting sideways, horizontal, those kind of things. So now I wanted to jump into this real quick though about USA Today. So this is their rankings. Okay. So this is, let me make sure, releases updated Big 12 football rankings ahead of 2025 college football season. So they have it 1, Kansas State. 2, Arizona State. 3, Texas Tech. 4, TCU. 5, Utah. 6, Iowa State. 7, Baylor. 8, Kansas. 9, BYU. And then at 10th comes Colorado. Again, I think this is too low. When we go over the roster that is built in Boulder right now, right, like we talked about, there's 4 stars everywhere, right? There's depth everywhere, right? The Jordan Seaton, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. That dude would be a top 10 pick coming out after this year if he was eligible to, right? Amari Miller, that is him and Jordan Tyson are going to go at it for the best receiver in the Big 12 this year. He is going to have himself a hell of a year. So I don't understand these rankings, you're right, because right after them is Houston. Houston is still a year or so away. A year or 2 away. They are making progress. To round it out, though, they have at 11 Houston, 12 UCF, 13 Oklahoma State, 14 Cincinnati, 15 West Virginia, and 16 Arizona. But yeah, I don't know what that's going to shape out like. I do think TCU's, I think they're going to start off strong, right? CU's going to get them at their strongest point of the year. But I think you'll start to see them tail off a little bit as the year goes on. Utah, I want to say they're going to be good because historically they don't do this under Kyle Whittingham. But again, this could just be kind of, right, the whole NIL era getting the best of Utah, where Utah can't compete. Right, Iowa State, I do like them right there at 6th. I think that's a good spot for them. Baylor at 7. I think I might put them a slot or two lower. I know they finished strong last year. Kansas, I would have Kansas in the bottom 5, bottom 6 of the conference. BYU, again, I would have them in the bottom 6 of the conference just because there's no Jake Retzlaff. And again, that is no slight at them. They are one of the best. They have one of the best coaches in the country. But again, I think sometimes, there's just not a ton of talent as they've had, right? They lost, man, I can't remember the linebacker. He ended up committing to Cal. I thought he was on his way to Boulder, but ended up going to Cal. Man, I can't think of his name right now, number 11, but he's no longer there. But there's just a lot of holes to fill there. Now, Kansas State, I do agree with Kansas State. I don't like Arizona State up that high. I think I'm gonna go back on my Arizona State being one of the last 5. So I'm gonna go Kansas State, Texas Tech, Colorado, and Utah. So let's just leave Arizona State out. I don't like Arizona State there too. I think 4 for TCU's high. I think Iowa State at 6 is good. I like Utah at 5 actually. I think that's a good spot for them. Almost like a placeholder to see where they're at. And again, that's not the fair way to go out on a limb and be like, these are my predictions. But having Utah, I do think they'll finish somewhere 5 to 7, somewhere around there this year. Kansas State 1 to 4, depending on tiebreakers. Arizona State, we will put them in I would move them to probably about 7 or 8 as well. So I should sit there and come up with mine and re-rank them. But that is where I see the Buffs finishing 9-3, possibly 10-2, depending on what happens there in Manhattan. Again, they could go and beat TCU and go into their house and beat them, right, into Fort Worth and beat them again. This team is going to be interesting. I have seen some reports from not reports, just a couple individuals within the saying I would be shocked 8 wins this year would be good. And I'm like, yeah, that shouldn't cut it anymore, right? 9 wins last year. And again, as an overall more talented roster, I do think that 9 wins, that should be the bar right there. And again, 10 wins. We'll see what happens there because a couple of games could shake down differently. And again, this is barring injuries, things like that. But again, we could be back here after TCU talking about 6-0 and Colorado ranked at like 12th team in the country, right? So again, this conference is up for grabs. I do think this is one of the most open conferences in the country. So yeah, I'm excited, right? It all starts Saturday with a non-conference game. I'm pretty sure of it. Between Dublin, Ireland, and that's the Farmageddon. So it's kind of a weird game to move to Ireland, but again, neither here nor there. Neither of my team. That should be counted as a conference game. I need to go check that out one more time. I did try research, Googling it. Nothing came up about it. It should be a conference game. It should be counted as that. But that'll be a good game to kick off the year with. That's one that I'm really excited to watch on Saturday. But yeah, and again, let's this Friday, wrapping things up. This Friday, we will not be having a show. My son turns 8 on Friday, so we'll be out hanging with him. But really excited for his 8th birthday. So we won't have that on Friday unless there's some earth-shattering news. May have to do it on my phone from wherever it is that we're at. But outside of that, I'm not sure what next week will look like. I know Monday, Wednesday we'll be there. Friday we'll be there from the stadium. So just to say that I have reached out to a couple people to see if they want to come on the show next week. To a couple, I would like to get someone from Georgia Tech that covers them on the show next week. So still working on that a little bit, and we'll see about something possibly for Monday. But again, I'll get that all out there beforehand. We'll get it once some things are confirmed or not confirmed, and won't talk about it. But again, as always, appreciate you guys being here. Joining me on your Wednesday night, middle of the week, almost there to Friday. But as always, follow at X, Manny _303, Instagram 303 _Manny. Buffline is always open. Again, 970-614-5771. Again, we will be I will be going live before the game at Folsom next Friday to kick things off. So whenever it is that we get there, we will be live from the stadium. And yes, thank you. Yes, thanks for the birthday wishes. But again, appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your week. And if I don't, Friday won't be a show. So if I don't see you, we'll see you guys next week. And as always, Skull Buffs, baby. Have a good evening, guys.